Hey everybody, hope everybody's having a good day, and let's go ahead and do questions and answers. Fire away, anything goes.
And if you want to unmute yourself, yeah, go ahead, Barbara.
Hey there. I haven't, from my notes from a couple of weeks ago, that you were talking about Neoli as being strengthening to the immune system.
Yeah, very revitalizing. Yeah.
Is that application internally? And if so, how much and for how long?
You can take it internal, but it actually probably is better even just topical application.
Okay.
Inhalation is good, but I would put several drops like on your wrist. You could even rub it like on the neck and shoulder area, you know, where the shoulder and neck kind of meet. But like whenever you want to really hit the bloodstream, you go to areas in the body where the fatty tissue is really thin. And so that's why a lot of times putting something on your wrist and rubbing your wrist together, it hits the blood really quick. And then the other place to do that is the top of your feet. Like you put a big dosage on the top of your feet right there, and it would kind of treat the overall body. And so, I mean, I would probably do, like, if you're really trying to boost the immune system, I mean, you could do 15, 20 drops like on the top of your feet and just like really rub it in. You know, if it gets on the bottom part of the feet and everything, that's okay, but you want a good part of the surface of the top of the foot to be covered, and just for a good measure, put some on the wrists and then rub it together. But you could do that daily for, you'll tell because it's like your energy levels improve, but not the way it improves like with like drinking a cup of coffee. Like you just feel like stronger, like you have a little bit more like fire in your step, or you getting ready to do something, rather than like trying to get my energy levels back up. You just feel like kind of good and strong.
Like more vitality?
Yeah, that's actually a much better word, vitality.
Okay.
Ravensara will do that, and Neoli will definitely do that.
And when would you use one over the other?
If you're really trying to reboot the whole immune system, I would probably do Neoli. If you're really trying to offset the body, like the effects of a virus or prevent a virus, I'd probably go a little bit stronger with Ravensara. And if you're starting to get prone to fatigue, like a little bit later in the day, like your first part of your day, you're starting off pretty good, but like say 2, 3 o'clock, you're starting to fatigue a little bit. Use the Ravensara like after lunch, and you can even do that a couple drops internally, you know, a few times before the evening, and it wouldn't keep you up at night. You know, would give you some energy, would give you a little more strength and vitality, without, again, the stimulation of like caffeine or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
like it's you know, cinnamon would give you strength, but cinnamon might keep you up at night, just because part of you falling asleep at night is being tired. You know, like if you're not really tired, you lay down, you're like, what's the point? You know, the body does a little bit better falling asleep if you're a little bit tired. And so cinnamon doesn't really allow you to, if you take it too late in the day, you won't have enough of motivation to sleep, where you could take Ravensara right before you go to bed and you'd still sleep fine.
Great. So would you take one or the other, or would you, there be a
You could
reason
do
to
both.
pick?
Yeah,
Do
you can do both. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, it's really good for cold and flu season. Like, I mean, going into the season we're going into now, if there's a lot of like cold weather that you're also worried about for the respiratory tract and things like that, the Siberian fir and the Siberian fir premium are also one of the best things to like fortify the respiratory tract for cold and flu season, you know, especially like exposure to cold. Not all parts of the country have that, where, when I lived in New Mexico, if I went outside and it was snowing and I just had a t-shirt on, it was a little chilly, but wasn't that big of a deal. You go outside in New York when it's snowing for, 5 minutes and you're sick, like you're going to get sick, And so it's a lot of times it has to do with like moisture content in the air,
That would be us up here.
Yeah, oh yeah, you definitely are high moisture content.
Thank you.
Like that whole East Coast, like, ugh, hard not to bundle up. Like I never really got the long coat and like scarf and glove thing, like living in California. I always would see it on the movies and I was like, boy, they really take their winter serious. And then when I got back there, I was like, it's a fact of life. Like it is survival back here. Like, other parts of the country, you just have no idea how cold it gets on the East Coast. I mean, other areas too, but
it's a moist cold.
Yeah, it is to the bone.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Peggy.
Hey, Peggy.
You talking to me?
Oh, iPhone. Sorry.
It's okay. Not a problem.
ahead,
I'll
Beth.
back down. Hi.
Hey,
Go ahead, Babette. Sorry.
hey, Babette.
Let me get you. You're not unmuted yet. Let me see about helping you here. Do you see how you can unmute? Not yet. Just keep working on unmuting. You can jump in at any time with this. No, it can be tricky, especially when you're not used to it. And then I think it said, yeah, I can't tell. Sorry. And go ahead to the other. You can always type in too if we can't figure out how to unmute you. I got my Stressies and CRC soap. Love it.
Oh, good.
Would the CRC soap act like a salt bath shower?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very cleansing. Depending on where you put it, it's etherically cleansing. It improves the function of the related chakra or minor chakra in the area, and it's also somewhat of a lymphatic stimulant even in soap. Topically, like when it's oil-based or in the roller ball, it's very much a lymphatic stimulant. The soap, it's still a lymphatic stimulant, but it depends on how long you would leave it on in the shower. I mean, ideally, even if you just do it for like a minute, soap up and just stand there for a second, like 60 seconds or so, it will make the body expel. But if you can do it a little bit longer, like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, that's actually even better.
And for those of you who are coming in right at the beginning, the first oil Barbara was asking about was the Nioli, and Carol typed it in there to the chat so you could see that. Anybody with any questions? Anything goes, you can unmute. Yeah, go ahead, Barbara.
Can I ask a crystal question?
Yeah, sure.
So I got one of the Moldavite gems from Astara, and the thing is powerful. And I wondered, should I not have it in my bedroom or near my bed at night?
It's best not to keep stones real close to the bed at night in general, just because stones have an activating effect on the lower centers. Even though it might do something to the upper centers, it still always does something to the lower centers. And it might impact the sleep and your ability to kind of consciousness to leave the body, like when you're asleep and dreaming. Like if it's on your dresser or something, that's fine, but I probably wouldn't leave it too close to the bed. I mean, if it's on your nightstand, I mean, it's probably okay, but definitely try not to wear it. Yeah, and
Body a little bit before I went to bed, but I moved it
yeah,
to the nightstand. I moved it to the nightstand, but
Yeah.
my dreams were definitely different last night, and I wondered if I should move it further away from the bed.
That was probably even just from wearing it for a little bit. I mean, it's very cleansing, and it definitely makes you more conductive. And so, yeah, it's a pretty powerful healing stone. You know, it's especially for spiritual practice. It's pretty strong. So,
So the dreams actually felt like a little bit more symbolic than
Yeah.
I'm usually aware of.
I could see that. Yeah, sure.
Okay, but I'll just be careful not to have it too close.
Yeah, like your nightstand's probably okay. If it was a bigger stone, I'd say you know no, but like jewelry, that's like in the okay realm.
Okay, I mean, I just holding it in my hand, I could feel it.
Yeah,
It was,
yeah.
it's,
Moldavite's super powerful.
It-
Yeah, super
I
powerful.
was surprised how powerful it was.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
And if I can spell, I'll try to type this in to you guys.
Moldavite.
They got it. Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Also, I just want to note, I think Barbara was in the clairvoyance class last weekend, so I know my dreams are.
Oh yeah, Samantha brings up a good point. You were in the clairvoyance class also over the weekend, and it might have been a little bit of the clairvoyance class as well.
Okay, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah. Samantha was even saying she had pretty wild dreams through the weekend. Yeah.
And I know some of you are just joined us. If you have a question, you can always type in
fire away.
and you can unmute yourself. What is in the ANS support blend?
Always that one I kind of know by memory, but I'm still going to look it up just to be sure. It's tarragon, anise, and rosemary. And so all are antispasmodic, all help to stimulate the function of the nerves in the gut. You know, a lot of times when we have digestive issues, the nerves aren't innervating or firing in the gut like they should. And so those oils actually help that quite substantially. You know, all have an antispasmodic component to it. The rosemary helps bring balance back to the body. The anise helps bring balance back to the autonomic nervous system. And tarragon helps to also bring balance to the emotional body. And so it's very soothing, it's very strengthening to the digestive tract. It could be used to treat food sensitivities, although that may take a while because that's usually multi-causal, not just a single thing. You usually have to treat several things. But food sensitivities, food allergies, things like that, and reducing some of the tension in the gut.
I have had some hair thinning around my crown.
Mhm.
My dermatologist told me I'm still growing hair, but for some reason my body has switched into shedding more and appears to be stuck in that mode. He put me on dioxycycline and gave me a prescription shampoo to use 3 to 5 times a week. A friend recommended marjoram essential oil, but I see you have multiple different ones. Wondering-
Just the regular marjoram. Rosemary can actually be quite helpful, used in shampoo. Spanish sage can be helpful, especially when the blockages are in the pores. Like sometimes leftover components of like hormones and things can get stuck in the scalp. And so sage is actually really quite good for that. Thyme, especially thyme, the milder forms of thyme can be very helpful because they stimulate circulation in the scalp, and they help to stimulate the capillary circulation. And so that can be helpful as well. Marjoram is nice because it also reduces, it increases blood, but it also reduces stress that can get caught up in the top of your head, the scalp. And like the stress energy or the stress byproducts can make the hair fall out a little bit more as well. And so, yeah, any combination of those or things individually can be very helpful. Yeah. Sometimes the hair will start to fall out or will start kind of like, I don't know how to say it, like start to have like stragglers, you know, like you have like little hairs that like pop up all over the place. That's usually a byproduct of lymphatic function. And so one of the things that you can do for something like that would be birch tar. You know, if your hair is not very long, you might not notice that, but birch tar can be very good for lymphatic blockages up in the scalp.
I'm still really struggling with sleep. I've been pretty good at taking the Tarragon and breathing spikenard, sleep support, and I'm taking sleep support formulas at night with melatonin, valerian, passion flower, etc. But I've gotten little relief overall. I've had maybe 3 to 4 solid nights of rest in the last month recommendations. And I think you had told them to do the sleep protocol too, but I could be wrong.
Is there like stress levels? Is there anxiety? Like what's going on in your, like, is there pain? Like what's going on with you that is throwing the sleep off? Do we have any idea?
So this was before you asked the question. They did say they're feeling worn, thin, and like my nerves are fried.
And so one, thin, and your nerves are fried. So is there like stress levels, anxiety levels? Are you dealing with a difficult situation?
All of the above,
All
yes.
of the above. Hmm. And is the situation ongoing or is it resolved and you just have the byproduct of the stress and anxiety? Or is it still like it's unresolved and you're still working through it?
Both.
Okay, some things are better and some things are unresolved. Okay. Do you have Melissa?
Yeah.
Okay. And what about kava kava? You have the oil blend or the oil kava kava?
No, already ran out.
Okay. Um, let's have you do this. Sometimes when we look at situations like this, there's things that we can do in general and really is for like anybody and everybody. And then there are certain things where it might be good for one or two people, but not necessarily good for everybody, because can be extenuating circumstances. And so I think with this situation, I'd like you to take about 5 drops of Melissa 2 or 3 times a day. Actually, 3 times a day if you can. And you can do it a little bit more, like do 1 dosage in the morning and then do 2 dosages more towards the evening. And so this is going to do multiple things. Okay, so for one, Melissa is a nervine or nervine, however you'd like to say it. So it's very calming and soothing to the nerves and nervous tension. And anytime that the nerves are fried, it's good for that. It's strengthening and toning to the body and can strengthen the spleen somewhat. Your spleen looks depleted, which starts to affect the activation of the heart and then eventually the crown. And what can happen when the spleen is depleted, you actually start producing less serotonin, and then eventually it diminishes the amount of melatonin that you're producing because the serotonin turns into melatonin. And so the Melissa should help to strengthen and fortify that. Also, the Melissa helps with strengthening the heart, the emotional heart. When there's been negativity or just wear and tear on the emotional body, sometimes it takes its toll, and the heart becomes a little tender of sorts. It's not necessarily traumatized, but sometimes it's sitting in the corner, rocking, chewing its fingernails, going over the day. You know what I mean? And I take Melissa quite often just because it's very fortifying. But the probably the biggest reason why I'd like you to take it is it's very stimulating to the back head, right? The back head. And the back head, when it's stimulated like this, it starts to stimulate a little bit more of the right side of the brain. So it starts to help with more intuitive thinking. And when the right side of the brain is a little bit more activated, you kind of are able to see a little bit of the bigger picture of what's going on. And if there's things that you need to let go of, it's easier to do it from the right side of your brain than the left side of your brain, right? But when the back head is activated, it starts to, you could say, and I'm going to use how the Buddhists talk about it here, is it starts to open the potential for different streams of consciousness to come through. And so, sometimes it's we're dealing with thoughts, thought processes, things like this. But sometimes it's literally like it's like your radio. You're just stuck on a bad radio station that's not playing any good songs, It's just think of it like that. And if you could turn the dial and find a radio station that is playing music more of what you would like, that would be basically kind of the idea of streams of consciousness. It's like sometimes we get locked into this stream of, it's not even like higher or lower, it's just certain things happen in certain, in each of the streams. And it's a way of stepping out of the one stream and stepping into another stream. And sometimes you need to go through and you deal with the traumas and the situations, or if there's anger or there's stress or whatever, those all help to entangle. So it makes it easier for you to step out of it. But I mean, that's one of the things that meditation and mantras are potentially doing, is opening up different streams of awareness or consciousness to come through. And Melissa is used in alchemical processes to help shift the person's conscious perceptions, conscious awareness to other areas. It helps you to step out of it. If it's a situation that maybe is not good for you, like with work or a partner or something like that, it can help you step out of that situation or help you to improve it. Like, okay, this thing needs to happen for this situation to get better, And so it's not really trying to make one way or the other way work. It's just trying to bring like resolution or like bigger picture thinking. And sometimes when we get locked in a situation where it's just a bunch of negative things, it happens to all of us. I mean, it's as the older you get, you think, oh, it's going to happen less. And sometimes it happens more intensely, just because you have more time to accumulate things and you might have more riding on particular situations. And so your ability to manage this is important. So like, it's an important skill set. And so I would say, you can mix the Melissa with a little tiny bit of kava, or you can mix it with a little bit of Shazandra, but it needs to be mostly Melissa. Even if you had both the Shazandra and the kava together, you could add a little bit of it, but I'd say 80 or 90% of it needs to be Melissa. And I think that should help. It's not going to resolve the problems, but it's going to put you in a place to where you might have some different perspective with the situations, to either resolve them or to walk away from them. You're the one that's going to get to choose. So I think the best thing to do is to kind of support you, your physiology, your psyche, your psychology, to be in a place to where you can make the decision based on, decisions on right now and the future. Like if you have a bunch of things going on, it sounds like you have a bunch of decisions to either, do I ride this out or do I do something, or, who knows? And so, I mean, but like hard for another person to understand completely. And so try the Melissa. That's it's one of my go-to ones. Like a lot of times I'll do Melissa, and then I'll do some Angelica topically, just because the Angelica balances out the nervous system. Spanish sage is very good for just calming down the nerves. Anytime you're in difficulties where you're just feeling kind of fried, different evergreens and frankincenses and myrrh and opopanox, all of those are fortifying. Anything that's really resinous or an evergreen is really, really fortifying. It's different than the Melissa, but it can be a little bit strengthening to the system as you're going through it. I would even suggest wearing a piece of amethyst. Amethyst can be very balancing to the nervous system, especially the autonomic part of the nervous system, which is fight, flight, rest, and repair. And I suspect you probably, because of stress and wear and tear, you might have a little bit of an autonomic imbalance. Anytime you're busy or pushing or deadlines in the middle of stress, chaos, you always have the potential. Like I constantly monitor my autonomic nervous system, because if I don't, boy, that part just gets out of balance at some point, So I do, like my Angelica is right here. Look, that's how big of a bottle I use. I use a 30 ml bottle, because I mean, there's times where I put on a couple mils at a time, or I take 3 or 4 drops internally, something like that. And it's super soothing to it balances the nervous system, it calms down some tension, it relaxes the emotional body. So Melissa, for sure, if you have Angelica, let's have you wear the Angelica, inhale the Angelica, especially at night. And if the nerves seem, like if you seem hypersensitive to light and sound and things like that, let's have you take some Spanish sage baths, and go big, like 30, 40 drops of Spanish sage. Don't do that with regular sage, but Spanish sage. If you do just regular sage, still only 12, 15 drops. But Spanish sage, you can go pretty big. The chemistry is a little bit different. And so you can tolerate much bigger dosages of Spanish sage. So do that for a few days, and maybe report back in a few days or a week or so. See how you're doing. But that should bring more rest, or more the ability to wind down. Like I'm not joking, like this happens sometimes with kava, but like if I take Melissa right towards the end of the day, take like 5 or 6 drops, I can literally feel my body like starting to let go of the tension and unwind. And if I'm close to bed and I let myself just relax, I'll conk out. But if I stay up, I'm relaxed, but it doesn't make me sleepy. It just kind of takes the tension out, and it keeps me from getting, like it keeps you from getting too stuck in the left side of your brain. That's really
Mhm.
So yeah, so try that. Thank you.
I have a client coming in for chronic healing, cutting old negative cords from a specific person.
Mhm.
Please recommend an oil protocol to do prior or after.
For you or the client?
Client.
Rue or St. John's wort. The best pattern for that is navel minor, spleen, and then palms and soles of your feet. That will help release the cords. Sometimes I have them inhale basil afterwards, or you could probably get away with marjoram, but basil afterwards, and you can follow the same pattern. But the basil gets at the source or the cause of the formation of the negative cords. And so Rue will help release the cords, as well as St. John's wort. St. John's wort is actually a little bit stronger. but it's also a bit more expensive. And there's the issue of if you put it on the skin, light sensitivity. And so, but Rue is solid and works really well for that. And so the thing that to keep in mind is when there's two people and you're cutting cords between them, there's energy that goes back and forth between basically it's the two bodies. You know, sometimes it's not even emotional, mental, but it's just an energy that's going back and forth. Hyssop will diminish the back and forth between the two people. It doesn't cut the cords, but it diminishes the interaction somewhat. And it helps the person not absorb as much negativity. Now, a stronger form of that is chakra root cleanser. Chakra root cleanser will diminish the back and forth and diminish the tendency to absorb the negativity. And so it's a really good one to use in that particular place. Plus it has a cleansing effect that goes to the root of the chakra, you know, hence its name. And so, you know, you could put it on the solar plexus and, you know, some of the lower centers. You know, sometimes the cords are also to the throat and the ajna. If they were partners for a long period of time, it might even be to the forehead, you know, like a type of connection. And so, you know, it depends on the nature of the relationship, but that should be super, super good. When you're doing pranic healing on them, after you cut the cords, if your scanning's okay, check the protective webs. The person that you're going to work on, the cords have caused some, or there's just some tears, but I suspect even that the cords have caused some tears. Mostly in the solar plexus, there's a little bit in the back head. There's a little bit of it's not even like a tear, it's almost like a little hole in the ajna, and then some on the basic. So back spleen as well. So clean the protective webs and then repair the tears, which is with electric violet or gold.
They use the word flood it with electric violet or gold to help that.
Form the intention. I mean, if you just energize the center, it does it, but you actually want to try to energize the web itself. So form the intention. You know, you could go to the chakra and then form the intention. You're going about 1.5 inches or 2 inches deeper. Or if you can put your attention on the protective web, do that. And it's really amazing. It usually doesn't take very long. It, you know, might be like 10, 15 seconds. But here's the thing too. Like if there is a bunch of tears and they keep happening, one of the ways to go through and treat that is to actually treat the kidneys. The kidneys directly impact the protective webs. And when there starts to be a lot of like tearing in the webs, or like, you know, say, for example, you're dealing with somebody with addiction issues and maybe they've used like ecstasy or MDMA, it has like a really big like thinning effect on the web. By treating the kidneys, you actually help to repair the tears. You help to prevent future tears, and it helps to thicken up and strengthen, like fortify the webs themselves. So it's one of the ways that you would do treatment for, like if somebody had been using psychedelic drugs or MDMA, which is like ecstasy or something like that, anything that would like thin the webs, you know. Ecstasy does thin the webs quite a bit, you know. One or two exposures, maybe not so much, but if they, you know, use it several times a year or something, the webs start to thin. And so if you're doing that with pranic healing, do delicate regeneration on the kidneys, which is greenish violet and then greenish yellow. And then followed up with a little bit of gold. And I mean, you don't even have to work on repairing the webs. Just doing the kidneys will repair kind of pretty much everything. And so it's usually a single treatment is all it usually needs. It might not even need 2 treatments.
Do mushrooms thin the webs? I know they sometimes
Yeah,
dabble once in a while with that.
They thin the webs a little bit and they can cause some tears. The variation could be that if they're doing it a little bit more like it's a ceremony, it might not do that. But it can cause little tears. Like the place to look for when they're using mushrooms is probably more like the forehead, the ajna, the jaws, potentially the back head, and then the basic. They're doing them every once in a while. Yeah. You know, but like I've treated people who there was this one person, she was taking what's the right term, like 9 tablets or 9 hits of ecstasy a day. 9. Yeah, that was pretty excessive. And so if they're using it pretty consistently, like weekly, that starts to be a whole nother ball of wax. But if they do them from time to time, just clean it up a little bit and it should be fine.
Now, a different person was asking, isn't there an oil to heal tears in the webs?
Usually you do it with oils by treating the kidneys. Sandalwood can potentially do that. Trying to remember what I used to use for that. Oh, Papanox. What else? There's another one.
Are these internal
No, they're just topical.
over the kidneys?
Yeah,
or
you can do them
inhalation?
over the kidneys or inhalation. There's one more. Give me a second. It'll come to me in a second. Ah, it's blue tansy. Blue tansy.
What does the protective webs oil do?
Cleans the webs.
Just checking to see if I missed any back here. Go ahead, Barbara.
Hey, Barbara.
Hello again.
Hey.
I've noticed the last, I don't know, several weeks with some of the work that we've been doing that there's a lot of activity in my throat chakra and my jaw.
Okay.
And so would it be beneficial to revisit the Bridge of Light class, or are there other things I
Like,
need to
so
do?
give me an idea of what that means activity. Like what's happening?
It just feels very energized and slight pressure, not uncomfortable, but kind of overstimulated, if you will. And I don't remember specifically when it happened, but it's been several times.
Okay.
Just wondered if there's something to clean up or work on.
Yeah, let me look at you here for a sec. It's actually your Ming Men.
Oh,
Which
Ming Men.
is, yeah, which is opposite the navel on the backside.
Uh-huh.
And so that center shoots energy up towards the top of your head. And so sometimes it can overactivate the jaws, and the jaws and the throat are pretty interconnected. Can overactivate the forehead somewhat sometimes, or get stuck at like the base of the skull. But one of the things that happens is the jaws will like start to overactivate, and then you'll start to get like more activity in the throat. That's what it looks like is happening.
Tingly lips too sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. Because it does affect like blood pressure potentially. I don't know that that's what's happening there, but anytime you get overactivation of the Ming Men, you start to get some of the symptoms. And so give me a second here. Let me just evaluate the best way to treat.
Thank you.
Um, it looks like you it looks like your Ming Men's overactivating because of blockages in the spine. And so it like think of it like this, like your crown transmutes things mentally. And another way of saying that is it raises the vibration of the mind or the mental body, right? Then the heart, especially the back heart, transmutes things emotionally. So it also, in other ways, it raises the vibrations of the emotional body. Your Ming Men is the center where transmutation gets initiated, and it transmutes the energy in the body. So it could be blockages, it could be areas of the body where energy or prana is not flowing. It could be an area where there is some degeneration. It could be an area that is compromised because of like stress energies coming out. And part of what the Ming Men does is it will overactivate to try to transmute the energy of whatever body part that has the blockage, right? And so you start going down the list of the thing you look at is like, okay, is it in the arms and legs, is it in the basic, is it in the spine, is it some deep blockages in the emotional body of the solar plexus? Usually you start crossing off the things, and for you it looks like it's in the spine, and it actually doesn't even when we look at it from the point of view of like the mental body, your spine is an extension of the mental body because it's an extension of the brain. And so a lot of times where you throw off like the remnants of really deep psychological energies is usually from the spine. It's one of like the last things to go, kind of, so to speak. And there's always the potential that it gets stuck there and it will actually literally tighten up your back. Here, I think it's actually a little bit of your diaphragm, and it's more lymphatic in nature along your spine rather than psychological in nature, which lymph is going to like kind of tense up or tighten up the back a little bit, but like the energy and the fluid in the spinal cord doesn't quite move quite like it should. I mean, it's not causing like a health issue, so to speak, but potentially it could be there, but it would usually take a long time. And so, I mean, it would just probably manifest honestly as like back pain, like some sort of back issue. And so, probably the easiest way to clean that up is to use, if you have these two, the two top choices would be Catrafate.
Yep.
Yeah, you have that. And then the other one, if you have it or want to rotate it or something, is rhododendron. Those two are really good. Petitgrin will kind of work, but Petitgrin doesn't quite do it the way Catrafate does. And so, I mean, if you have Catrafate, there's also that blend from a while back. We still make it, but it's stagnation. Any version of that will work. But if you have Catrafate, just jump right to the Catrafate.
And how do I use that?
You can actually just probably put it on your wrists. That would do it. Or you could take a salt bath. If you want to rub it on parts of your back, you could do that as well. If you want to just clean up the Ming Men, you could take something like Palo Santo or eucalyptus, hyssop, and just take some long, slow, deep breaths with your awareness on that Ming Men area, opposite the navel on the low back.
Mhm.
But I do it after you did the Catrafate, and it should clean up relatively nicely. Every once in a while, too, the other component of this can be tension in the gut. But when I look at you right now, there's a little bit of tension there, but not abnormal amounts. I would just stick with the spine probably for right now.
I might actually have some stagnation blend too. How would I use that?
Oh yeah. If you have that, then just use
Same
that.
way as Catrafate.
Yep, same way.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
You're so welcome. And then let us know how it works, good or bad. Let us know.
Will do. Thanks.
You so.
Someone's on the site and saw we had some new products, including the different tonics. They wanted us to talk about them.
I'm going to let Samantha talk about them because those are Samantha's tonics. And so,
Yeah, so when you see here in chat, Apothecary Geek, that's me. That's also my business. But a few years ago, I collaborated with Greg on a handful of tonics, and we put the plant prana oils in them. And so if you're on the website and you check out tonics, you will see some of these tonics. Now, most of them do have the plant prana oils in them. So Brain Boost, Clarity Cider is, I mean, when you click on it, you'll see what's in it, but it is to clear brain fatigue and specifically like adrenal brain fatigue. The ginger tonic is, so you'll probably, what we do with the Apothecary Geek is I extract the herbs for 2 months. So if it's an extraction, so the digestive tonic is an extraction with the raw apple cider vinegar with ginger. And then we put Greg's ginger oil in it. And it's a special ginger oil.
yeah, it's a ginger CO2.
Yes.
It's the strongest ginger that we can find essential oil with.
And that one's really good for digestive stuff. So one of the things Greg observed is when you take the digestive tonic, it actually, like that brain, what is it? Like in the gut, it's like that fifth brain or whatever.
Yeah.
It stimulates that.
Right.
It's really good for acid reflux too. The Vitality Tonic, we call it a turmeric cider. And it's, I guess I could say it's basically an anti-inflammatory. So it helps with, just any stagnant stuff. It's really good for the lymph things as well. those are the ones that have Greg's oils in them. There are 2 on the site. I just put them up because they go great with oils. And that is the ECAC tonic. ECAC is an old recipe. The story goes it's a traditional like detox, cure-all recipe. And we put it in a cider form. And then the other one is Fire Tonic. I did not make up this recipe. I just modified a famous herbalist had created an immunity cider, so like a natural antibiotic. And that's what Fire Tonic is. One of the best things with the vinegars, and just you could use any raw apple cider vinegar, you could use the tonics, whatever you want, but it helps to get the oils into the bloodstream really good, really fast. And so that is what the tonics are. And I'm just super excited. I've been wanting to get them up on the site for a while, and we finally did that. So thanks for the find and the question there. Appreciate that.
Hi, I got a question since you paused in your conversation. I'm highly allergic to ginger. And I think the last time I looked at your wonderful tonics, I don't know if it was the SCAC, might have been the only one that didn't have, one of them did not have ginger. And I was thinking it was the SCAC.
Yeah, 2 of them don't. Brain Boost and the ECAC do not have any ginger.
I needed to know that. Brain Boost. Thank you very much. I'll know what to look for again. Thank you. Because I've tried the SCAC and I really do like it. So you'll be seeing my name on the list soon, my dear. Thank you.
So I don't know if Fire Tonic helps with the taste of Monarda, but I actually do like shooting them together. So what I do is I put like a drop or 2 of the Monarda in the tonic and I shoot it back. And then I do chase it with a little water, or I also use kombucha as a little chaser because they're both a little spicy. So, but yeah, the Monarda with the Fire Tonic is really good together. When we'll go back to the previous question about the scalp, the hair, what is the application for those oils?
Like either put it on with shampoo or mix it with a little bit of alcohol and then do it like a liniment, but on the scalp.
What are the best oils to put directly on the spine?
What are you trying to do on the spine?
Let me see, they continued. Oh, for different purposes. Just what are some top oils that you'd recommend need on the spine?
Again, it would depend on what you're trying to do. Yeah, I mean, give me an idea of what you're trying to do.
I've just never put it directly on my spine.
Well, you can use things like marjoram is really good for putting on the spine. It helps to loosen up the little muscles in between the vertebrae and can help the spine to self-correct. That can be very, very good. Lovage can be very, very good for reducing deposits in the joints. Same with Eucalyptus citrodora. Again, kind of anti-inflammatory, reduces deposits in the joints, which would be the deposits in between the vertebrae. Black pepper can be good along the spine for just increasing blood flow along the spine. Lymphatic oils, like especially things like helichrysum or lymphatic blend, can be very good for stimulating lymphatic flow. Catrafé or rhododendron are very good for stimulating lymphatic movement, specifically along the spine. Those are amazing because you don't even have to put them on the spine for it to have an impact. Different types of mint when you put on the spine have an anti-inflammatory effect and reduce some of the tension in the spine as well. They don't necessarily relax muscles the way marjoram does, but if there's pain, it helps to reduce the splinting that can happen in and around that area. Basil and petitgrain can be very good for that as well. Yeah, again, it depends on what you're trying to do. Like, sometimes even doing psychological healing, you can apply things to the spine. Chakra root cleanser to the spine is really super good. Helps to let things go. Emotional release blend applied to the spine can really help flush out a lot of emotions and things from the spine and spinal cord. Spikenard could be good. Again, relaxing and somewhat purifying. Yeah. Poplar balsams can always be good for psychological healing applied to the spine, but it's a bit more expensive. Things that are blue, like German chamomile, yarrow, blue tansy, Cape chamomile, applied to the spine are anti-inflammatory and soothe the nerves along the spine. Sage, especially Spanish sage, can help re-educate some of the neural pathways along the spine. Yeah, I think those are good places to start. If you have something specific that you're trying to do, then we tailor it, but just for like general health things, that's a good place to start, be it physical or psychological.
In what areas of the spine would you put it for, like lower, middle, upper, for lymphatic system?
The whole spine. I'd cover as much of it as you could, because the lymph is going to run all along the spine. And so I would not just try to target a certain spot. I'd actually try to open up the whole flow along the spinal cord.
Go ahead, Tejal.
Hey,
Hey, Greg, how are you?
Doing good. How about yourself?
I'm happy. Okay, so I have two questions. One is from the last class. Actually, both probably. So when in that you mentioned at one stage, first we just observe, then go inward. Then while doing inward, maybe we'll achieve the inner stillness or peace or shunyata, we called it, the stillness, oneness. And then from that oneness, we will achieve oneness with the higher soul.
So what are you talking about? Like what were you doing?
When we are just doing that exercise, observing you and that circle in that triangle and in that square, and then there was another circle, right?
The Philosopher's Stone, right?
Yeah.
It's a way of activating the blue pearl.
Yeah, but in that, so first when we are just observing, and then by doing that, we will achieve, we'll go inward. Instead, our focus will be inwards. And then from that, we'll get the oneness with the soul and then the higher soul.
Anytime you're practicing oneness, that's the mechanics of it. Yeah. You start to have first awareness of the incarnated soul and then eventually the higher soul.
And how we'll come to know where we are at one point, like when, which is the indicator, like beside the stillness, that I have incarnated soul and higher soul has a communication or union. When you will say that?
I'm not sure I'm understanding what you're asking.
Okay, I'm asking like different religion has, every religion mostly is have union with the incarnated soul and the higher soul. So by doing this practice, how I will able to know that I have achieved union with my higher soul?
You
There
would
is
have,
any sign?
I mean, you would just have levels of realization or awareness. You know, it wouldn't be, I think that's what you're asking. I'm not sure, but yeah, your state of consciousness would shift. You would have deeper levels of peace. You would have more awareness of the inner light and the light within nature.
Okay. And the second question was like, in this human life, we have the chakras and the meridians and etheric double or whatever we call the different bodies. So when we leave this body and we go to the next birth, we will have the different body. So so this is the only time to develop our chakras, or this, whatever we will develop and get the purity in this lifetime with our chakras and meridians will come with us like in next life, like they called it as a karma comes with us next life, next birth. So that way this purified chakras or the meridians, whatever we are doing right now in different classes, that will come with us, or in new body, new chakras, and everything we have to start from the beginning. I know it's a weird question.
No, I'm not quite understanding what you're saying. Yeah.
My question is, it's very weird. Like in this life, we have, in this body, we have the chakras, right? Different chakras. And by doing this practices, we are clearing some stuff.
Okay.
Correct? So the purity of this chakra, when I will leave this body, chakras will not come with me, right? Or in next birth, I will have the different body. So do I have to work on my chakras and meridians in next birth, or whatever I have done the purification, it will come with me?
Yeah, I think I understand. So yeah, you're always having to work on your body, energy body. Part of what happens as the incarnated, or excuse me, as the higher soul invests a piece of itself as the incarnated soul, you know, the higher soul invests a piece of itself as the incarnated soul, right? And then from there, these three little seeds come down,
right?
And they help to make up the physical body, the emotional body, the mental body, right? Then you go through and you have your experiences. All of these get imprinted on these seeds. So the mental seed is in the pineal gland, the physical seed is in the heart, and the emotional seed is down in the tip of the liver for the in the solar plexus, right? So all your tendencies are, and your experiences are getting imprinted on the seeds, right? Then you pass away, the seeds pop loose, they go up into the incarnated soul, and then eventually the incarnated soul makes its way back to the higher soul, right? Then the higher soul says, okay, you were an investment. What did you bring me? Like, you know, what light did you bring me? It's not the experiences themselves. The higher soul is harvesting light, right? Harvesting light. So it absorbs the light that's in the seeds. And then when it comes time for you to incarnate again, those same three seeds go down. Now the light has been absorbed, right? And there's characteristics that are in there that are good and negative, but the negative aspects that were imprinted on those seeds, they don't get absorbed by the higher soul. So when you come into your next incarnation, you're picking up where you left off. So your seeds lay out the blueprint for the physical body, the emotional body, the mental body. So if you had particular struggles in one incarnation, and then you leave the body, most likely you're going to have a very similar struggle because it hasn't been, resolved.
Yeah.
in the next incarnation. And so it's not so much about like, there's a certain amount of karma that you try to pay off from incarnation to incarnation. So that is a factor that happens every time you come into the body. But there's also the tendencies that you carry from incarnation to incarnation that are imprinted on the seeds. And the way to purify the seeds is by cleaning things up and then having new and different behaviors. Behaviors, attitudes, thoughts, thought processes, all of those things. So.
And that will, how incarnated soul will improve, like the thought process, thoughts, or right now also, what can I do to improve?
Yeah, by going through and doing the healings, by doing meditation, by doing self-reflection, all the things that get talked about in different spiritual practices, and the things we talk about in the classes, all of that is the targets.
So there's the purification which master says, that same thing or different religion, we just practice and purify ourselves. So in next birth, we have to do less work, correct? And whatever right now we are doing.
I don't know that it works quite like that. It potentially might a little bit, but what starts to happen when you are starting to grow and evolve at a little bit more rapid rate, you usually are having to work through a little bit more of your baggage, so to speak. And so it doesn't necessarily get easier, but you're evolving, but yeah.
And the last question is, like, you practice with so many masters and teachers. So in Hinduism, they believe in the illumination, and that is the last stage. And I have heard, like in our pranic healing, like when you go to advanced, like ascetic teaching, be after illumination also, like you go to and do work, like you still try to progress and progress and progress. I don't know the exact word right now. I just went blank. But so after illumination, basically I'm trying to know, after you achieve the union with the higher soul and the higher soul to Parbrahman, there is something, or then you be there and just observe. That is the belief of Hinduism. I know it is too far for me right now.
Right. So I think what you're saying is, like, after the higher soul, is there something else? Is that what you're
So
saying?
it's like
No,
you merge with Parabrahmani.
Right. So after you have union with the higher soul, then the next thing is to have union with the divine spark.
Okay.
Right. So that's like would be the next phase. Like great teachers are striving for union with the divine spark, where we're trying to have union with the higher soul.
Mm-hmm.
So and then eventually from there you start to have higher and higher union.
So then after the union with the divine spark, it will be the union with the Parbrahman, like Super God.
Yeah. I think there's higher levels, still levels of union that happen even before, because then you start to have union with the planetary logos, then you have union with potentially the solar logos, and then greater and greater. And so it's a lot of little steps.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
Sorry for my weird questions.
No,
Thinking too far.
When you put fresh marjoram or tarragon on food, how much effect does it have compared to the oil? So non-oil, just putting tarragon marjoram on. I know the oils are super concentrated and the herb would be weaker, but does it do anything using the herb?
Yeah,
Fresh herb?
it has an impact, but like for example, it takes 28 roses to make 1 drop of rose oil. So if you were to take a drop of rose oil internally, it's like you ate 28 roses. right? And so marjoram and tarragon, they would definitely have an effect, but it wouldn't be quite the therapeutic effect that using oils or big dosages of herbs. But like, even for example, like coffee, like the coffee oils, for stimulating lymphatic movement in the skin and have a cleansing effect on the energy body. You take a big like 16-ounce container of instant coffee, about 8 drops of the coffee oil is actually more potent than that whole 16 ounces of the instant coffee, the dehydrated coffee, before water's added. It's like, so if you went to the store and you bought that 16-ounce thing of coffee, or you put 8 drops on, the 8 drops is actually more potent than that whole big container. And so, you would have to drink a lot of, or rub a lot of coffee on your body with the instant coffee to get the equivalent of just 8 drops of the oil.
Go ahead, Peggy Bonfeld.
Maybe.
Hi, this is it just looked interesting. Totally another plane. The gift pack of oils that comes with the creativity class, it looked like there were like 20 brand new phenomenal oils. Are all those coming with the class?
I don't know, there's 20, but there's like 15 or 16 or something. Yeah, they're little 2 ml bottles, and you get everything, like it's turnkey. Like, so you have all the oils that you need to get through the class.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it looked fascinating.
Yeah.
So our usual bottles are 5 ml?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Great, thank you.
You so
Yeah, Greg keeps stepping up his kit game throughout the COVID times. So. And that is all the questions, and we have 10 minutes.
Okay, let's do a little protocol. Okay, let's do this. If you have Sitka, if you have chakra root cleanser, the blend from the Vital Centers class, Pineal. If you don't have those, any sort of spruce or fir will work. Larch would work. That blend unconscious would work. And like, before we keep going down the list, does anybody not have any of those things that I've just mentioned?
No one has said a no right now. I'll keep you posted.
Okay, so we're doing a thing to help unwind the tendency to be overly introverted or overly extroverted. And so let's go ahead and start inhaling with whichever one of those that you haven't chose. And your awareness is on your crown, the top of your head.
Someone's asking, do you stress?
No. No, I mean, it will do a little bit, but
But if you have any of the others.
yeah. I mean, it does have a lot of larch and Sitka in it, but it's got other things in it too. Your awareness is on your crown. Move your awareness to your forehead and your back head at the same time. So the hairline and the back of your head at the same time. Move your awareness between the eyebrows and the throat at the same time. The ajna in the throat. Move your awareness to the heart. Your awareness is on the heart. You're taking long, slow, deep breaths. Your solar plexus, the area below your ribs on your upper abdomen. Your navel. Your spleen, which is on the left-hand side below the ribs. Your mingmen, which is your low back area, the back side of your navel. The sex chakra, where the sex organs are. The bottom of the tailbone. Just let go for a moment. Let go of everything, your attention, your awareness. Just let go. Just be still for a second. Begin inhaling again. Your awareness is on the bottom of the tailbone. Move your awareness to the spleen on the left-hand side below the ribs. Your Ming Men opposite your navel on the back side. And the crown, the top of your head. Just be still, be aware, just let go. Notice how you feel, your body, your emotions, your mind, your thoughts. Sorry, it's such a short little protocol, but it's a great way to just kind of go through and unwind some of the mechanics of your psyche, right? If you can, try to join us. We're going to switch over now to the angel study group. And so we'll post that, and you can join us and we'll try to build on this. So we'll see you here in just a minute. But next week I'm giving everybody, all the staff, the week off because of the holidays. So we won't have a Tuesday or Wednesday night, but we'll be back on the following week. So we'll see you 2 weeks from tonight. But if you can, join us in the study group in about a minute or so. So we're switching over now to the other streams.
Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.